Okay, today we have one of the IDG representative person here, Aziz. We're going to talk about the our Uber, Lyft, or basically taxi driver rights thing, and then I hope Aziz gonna address correctly and as much as we understand. Aziz, thank you for coming our show. Hello, America.
Thank you so much for inviting me. This is really a great pleasure to be here amongst my fellow drivers and the community as well.
Oh, okay. So, how is going on, IDZ?
I mean, things are going great. Where to start from? Like, IDG, as you may know, is a driver advocacy group that's been created since 2016. And, we are looking to, unite drivers, right? To fight for their right, to make sure drivers, have their voice in the industry, that they are actually the only actors, right? Those are the only actors that are making all these, the only workers, I would say, right? Sorry for the word actor.
That's fine.
That's like those workers that actually make these companies billions of dollars, and those workers need to have a voice, right? And IDG is actually the platform. IDG is the megaphone that these workers are using to get heard, to fight for better working conditions, to fight for benefits, and to fight for the right to unionize. And I think it's been going well over the years, and we grew to become the largest driver organization in the nation, because drivers saw that this is actually the only way to a just work industry.
Okay. So, you guys, started on 2016, all right? So, until yet, what are the major thing you guys did for the driver?
IDG, when we first came in, I gotta remind everyone, Uber came into the industry in 2011, right? When they came in, the way they advertised themselves was cashless business, right? Get in, get out, and walk away, right?
Okay.
Everything is paid for. But what they made sure they didn't tell the drivers were, you were not allowed to accept a tip.
Yeah.
Riders don't supposed to tip at all. And that was wrong, because any worker, right, especially if you were in the service industry, you're supposed to accept a tip. And IDG jump on and start fighting that. That was our very first fight, to make sure drivers can accept tip through the app, or even cash tips, right? However a tip can get to them, that's supposed to be something available to them. And
I remember back in the day, we don't have tips. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, now it's getting better and better. Yeah, go ahead.
That's silly, right? Think about it, right? I mean, you're a driver, you know what I'm saying? You go, let's say, to a hotel to pick up someone, you get there, grab their luggage, bunch of luggage is usually put in the back of your car, drove them safely and on time to the airport. When you get there, you get out, grab their stuff, safely put it to the sidewalk, and those guys just say, thank you, I'll give you a 5-star. Do I feed my family with 5 stars?
Nope.
Absolutely not.
Yes.
I deserve, a tip at least for that effort, right? And that's exactly what IDG did, to make sure any app company that operates in New York is required to put a tipping option in the app. And we fought and won that. That was our very first victory. And to date, those tips, amount to over $1 billion that were put in the bag, in the drivers' pockets. That's huge, that's big, and drivers are still reaping the benefits of those. And beside the tipping option, we used to go talk to drivers at the airport, like, anywhere we can meet drivers at. But we understand that drivers' largest concentration is at the airport, right? That's where they stage to kind of wait for rides, or some of them, that's like their break time, while still waiting for, putting themselves on the queue, waiting for that next ping. But at that time, what we realized were, there were hundreds and hundreds of drivers staging out here, but no access to bathrooms.
And then.
And then, we started to actually make sure these drivers are treated with dignity, right? Because, getting access to the bathroom is a matter of public, matter of dignity, you know what I'm saying? Why would you have hundreds of drivers stage somewhere and you never think about giving these guys a bathroom? And we started a campaign, right, to make sure drivers get access to the to bathroom. And today we have fully functioning running bathroom with running water at JFK and LaGuardia. So this is also
another. I mean, since you're talking about tipping, right? I mean, especially in New York, right? Everybody, I mean, every workers get tip, right? Like hair salon, people tip hair salon tipping to like kitchen worker tipping to driver, So this tipping tradition is very popular in New York, especially New York, right? So if you, as a being driver, if you don't get it, of course, it feels like.
I think that was very inconsiderate and disrespectful to drivers, right? For Uber to come in and say, well, you guys work, but you don't deserve a tip. And we made sure we we changed that right away. So that was an amazing victory.
So I would like to ask you another thing about Black Car Fund. How is Black Car Fund going on? And then can you explain about Black Car Fund to our other drivers?
Yes, definitely I can touch on that, but I just wanted to touch on before we move away from IDG benefits, because we have a slew of victories and benefits, that we can kind of expand on.
Go ahead. Then
but one of another one that's very, very important.
Okay.
Also,
later I'm gonna come to Black Car. So go ahead for your stuff.
I mean we can transition after, but I just wanted to mention this one because that's big.
I got you. Yes.
IDG, is to understand also that's the very first labor organization that has negotiated a path, right, to an appeal, deactivation appeal process with the companies, right? What this means is if you were deactivated in New York City by both Uber or Lyft, you can come to IDG and appeal that deactivation, right? You will get a chance to get back on the app. Over the years, we protected thousands and thousands of jobs. We've saved thousands and thousands of jobs. We gave these workers, a lot of workers, their job back, right? Because of unfair deactivation. Unfair deactivation is hurting drivers a lot. And, you think about a driver that invests a lot of money, and I'm pretty sure you understand the cost associated, and the effort, not only the cost but time associated with, starting this, starting to work in this industry. You gotta buy a vehicle, but beside you buying a vehicle, before even you buy a vehicle, you gotta get your license, which is time consuming and actually, costs a lot of money, and get rent or buy a vehicle before or lease sometime, before you start to work. And when you pick up your rides, basically you are at the mercy of your rider, right? You can give your rider everything. You can drive as safely as you can, right? You can give them candies, water, right? And sometimes I even joke that you can give them a foot massage while you're driving, right? But once you get to the destination, that rider can just pick up their phones and say that, maybe my driver was drunk or my driver was rude to me. They can come up with anything.
Yes.
And the app companies can deactivate your account. That's totally unfair. And that's the reason why IDG step up and went and sat down with the companies to make sure these drivers get the protection they deserve, right? If they are deactivated unfairly, those deactivations can be reviewed. You can appeal, and the appeal process is very open and transparent, right? You file for an appeal, and the IDG representatives will go fight for that to make sure the app companies kind of review that deactivation for a chance to get that driver reactivated. And furthermore, if we cannot agree on like some certain deactivations where we believe that this is unfair, the app companies keep pushing back, we will just kick it to what we call a deactivation appeal panel.
Okay.
So the appeal panel is facilitated by the American Arbitration Association, who is an independent body that just oversees the process, where we will have 5 drivers, right, active drivers, that will become quote unquote like the jury per se, and you will have the American Arbitration Association that oversees the process. You will have the driver, then you will have the Uber representatives. So all of those guys are in a room, and Uber get a chance to present, to say why this driver been deactivated, and they will give also the driver now chance to kind of explain, or the circumstances surrounding those complaints. And from there, these drivers can ask questions both to Uber reps and to the driver, and once they are satisfied, everyone is kicked out of the room, meaning Uber, the driver, and the AAA representative. They get out, giving these 5 drivers time to actually go over the deactivation and the complaints and the Q&As and come up with a decision.
Okay.
Now, if the majority of those 5 drivers say, well, we believe this guy was wrongly deactivated, he need to be reactivated, there's nothing Uber can do. Uber will have to reactivate that driver. Now, if this panel say, no, we believe, us drivers, maybe this driver did something really, really bad that's going to make all of us look bad.
Yeah, like physical assault or sexual harassment and stuff like that,
Yes, because drivers are fair also, right? Those drivers will come back and say, oh, no, I don't think this guy should be driving in our industry because he's going to make all of us look bad. And they're going to say, do not reactivate. And I think, that's a very fair process. And it's been going on since 2016, and it's open to everyone. Every single driver can apply to for an appeal, right?
Okay. On this note, I think Aziz, you remember a couple of years before we did campaign in So Many My Kids, and you remember that, right?
Yes.
So we just live like Sonam and us. We just live like a couple of days notice, and then there were like, we were not expecting like about 1,000 people, but you guys work for like only 500 600 kids able that day. Okay, so could you tell me that how many that day we appeal for the driver deactivation issue? And normally I call a lot of our social worker and political leader in here also, Jessica Ramos, Sekar Krishnan, ask them always, our driver, they buy like 60,000-70,000 car, right? And then Uber they deactivate them. They drive like 5,000, 10,000, drive successfully, ride successfully, and then one time they do hard brake or something like that, and they deactivate, right? And then our people, they have to pay the mortgage for the car, they go to work to the store, you know what I mean, and then feed the family, stuff like that. It's very really, very tough issue. So how many, I'm gonna ask you the question, how many driver they reactivated that time?
We at IDG, we have a success rate of 80%, meaning 80% reactivation, and there is a 20%, of course, not reactivated. And I think 80% is great, right? 100% is better, but
Okay.
let's we are working toward those goals. I don't know if that can ever be accomplished, just because sometimes certain deactivations are like more complicated than others, right? To give you like exact figures, when we met a couple of summers ago, how many of those drivers were reactivated, that's something I can get back to you once I look at the system, to be able to give you exact data on that, data figures, I would say, on that. But the reality is deactivation is more complicated than it looks. Right, it takes a lot of back and forth. It takes time sometimes because app companies can say flat out say no, we are not going to reactivate this person because of X, Y, and Z. And let me just give you like this kind of illustration, right? When you start driving, let's say you're driving for 5 years. Since day one, you start picking up. Riders will complain, right?
Yeah.
Riders complain for various reasons. And don't get me wrong, some riders, their complaints are legit.
Yeah.
Okay, because
they do.
I'm an Uber driver, but I'm an Uber rider too, and I have my family that rides Uber and Lyft, and I want to make sure those riders have the ability to actually complain. I mean, that's not bad. But the problem is there are some riders that are like, that just flat out kind of make things up. And because when they complain, they get their money back.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, that's how they do. Yeah, a lot of people they have that purpose, right? So sometime like I think I mean on that note, like in this deactivation issue, a lot of driver, not a lot, but some driver, they get suicide, they committed suicide. You know that, right?
Absolutely. And yeah, those are, we had a suicide situation going on and around 2018, if I'm not mistaken, where we had about 8 drivers, or probably more that committed suicide because of various reasons, right? Some of them were app related, others were mostly medallion related, and we could kind of expand on that a little bit more. But what the thought I was like, the process the visual actually I wanted to give you earlier, was like, with those complaints, right? You drive for 5 years. Day one, you start receiving complaints, right? If you drive 8-10 hours a day or even longer, right? The more riders you get, the more complaints come in, right? Or at least the chances of getting somebody to complain goes up, right? Over 5 years, you will have a lot of complaints that build up.
Okay.
Now, app companies are looking for a pattern, for example, right? Like when they understand that riders lie to get their money, right? And this is my assumption, right? Personal assumption, right? Based on the experience that I have working on deactivation, right? So app companies, the algorithm is looking for patterns, right? If the idea is simple, right? If 100, 200, 300 people probably say that don't know each other, and they all say the same thing about you, most likely is unfortunately we are caught in that, right? But those lies sometimes can be super similar over time, right? That has nothing to do with the fact that the driver is doing them, but that's just because the app company gave riders those tools to be able to come up with the same exact argument all the time, and that same argument build up to a certain point where it's gonna end up affecting you as a worker, and that's what kind of makes deactivation an uphill battle, because you gotta go actually push back on each of those 100, 200, 300 complaints that kind of been logged for so many years, and that's what justifies sometimes the time it takes to get someone reactivated. But myself and the team, we are working tirelessly to make sure, this is all we do all day every day, and looking at those drivers, like the story you gave, some people that are like heartbroken to the point where they are on the brink of suicide. We listen to those stories every single day, and those are the things that keep us up at night. How do we make sure not only we speed up this process, but we make sure we put this guy back to work? Because oftentimes those guys, they invested their life savings to drive, and they are the sole breadwinner, of their family, and they just need that job back.
Okay. Another thing, I still remember. Probably you remember one of our Arabian driver brother by beaten by clients. I think like a rider. Remember a couple of years before he was in hospitalized in Manhattan, right?
Yes, yes.
So how is the issue? What did you guys do for that? Like some rider are they're bad. Not all of them, but they do the physical contact to driver or like physical assault stuff like that. So what do you guys think about that? And then you remember what happened that Arabic American driving brother.
Yes, I think assault in general, like driver safety, I would say in general, is something that need to be put at the forefront of every single fight, because driving to me is one of the most dangerous jobs. Right?
Yes.
I'm a driver. I started driving.
New York driving is tough.
Yeah.
I think it's tough in the world.
Oh my God, that's very tough, right? Other than rude passengers, you also confronted with like criminals sometimes that can inflict harm on you. So we started, understanding why that driving is really dangerous and safety is a must. We started a safety campaign in 2019, and that safety campaign basically one of our number one demand is the app companies to be held accountable when a rider assaults a driver. Okay. That's a no-brainer, right? That should happen. Okay. And we've been going on with that fight and up till now, because sometimes moving it through can be a bit difficult, but that's something we are continuously working toward, because we believe that it has to happen, right? And even though right now there are some certain safety nets, that the Black Car Fund actually has when a driver is injured while on the job, but that's on the Black Car Fund side. The app companies themselves need to be held accountable, because look, when I pick up an Uber ride,
yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Right?
Issue, yeah,
that rider is not my rider. That rider is Uber's rider.
Their rider,
right?
Yeah,
because
yeah.
I have no clue who that person is.
Yeah.
So if that person does anything to me,
yeah,
right, Uber should be liable.
That's what I'm saying.
Right, it's that simple. And we started that campaign, and we are asking for the community support to make sure we move that quickly. But that's something that's much needed, and yeah.
Yeah, we have to think about it because this is going on more and more. Like a lot of my friends, they show me the camera footage. They have the kind of physical assault happen. So
Yes.
yeah, you guys should think about it. And then one of my friends said, he's an Uber driver too. And I told him, I called today to my studio, and he said that's his questions. He says a driver drives for like 15 hours, 20 hours, right? So after he retired, like after finish his 15-hour driving or 20-hour driving, 18-hour driving, he get nothing. Like, but other job, if you work like 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, like if you work in army, like police, 20 years, they get pension, right? So do you guys think 15 years, 20 years, or certain like after 10 years, driving driver, do they deserve like 401k or anything? Do you guys have in your mind or not?
Absolutely, this is a great question, because as you know, a driver makes money only when he's healthy, working 10, 15 hours, like you say, a day. I mean, there is revenue. If he doesn't work for a day,
yeah,
there is no money.
Yeah.
Right? Car breaks down.
Breaks
down. I mean, there is no money. If he gets older, retire,
the
there
main
is
thing is
nothing on the other
is
end waiting, and that's the reason why.
when other people they get like
Right. That's the reason why this need to change, right? And that's why IDG is actually the very first driver organization that call for drivers' right to unionize. Anywhere else in America, we've been the very first driver organization, because we saw that, we understood that right away, because we are a driver-led and driver-powered organization. Everyone almost everyone at IDG is a driver on all the organizers. So we bring the issues right at the forefront to make sure, you know, the organization understand what are drivers' priorities. And the right to unionize, you know, became our biggest priority, because that will allow drivers to have a seat at the table to negotiate their working conditions, right? And when you give drivers now the tools, right, that microphone to be able to talk about their working condition and what they want, these are the ideas that gonna come up, which is, hey, someday I'm gonna retire. I will need some kind of revenue, right? I will need some kind of, you know, money, fine, you know, to roll in, and that will allow now that driver to negotiate directly with the app companies to kind of shape that, to find out what it's gonna look like, how it's going to be implemented, because drivers will actually then have the power to do it. So again, we are renewing this this call to ask for every driver's effort to get behind the Independent Drivers Guild to actually push drivers' right to unionize, so we can collectively bargain for our working conditions.
So is it gonna possible to leading on your organization, right?
Yes.
So this is the message to convey to our all the like community leader or stuff like that, right? So we're gonna fight for that in future, like get something in future, right?
We are fighting for that. We are actively fighting for that and inviting everyone to join in the fight, right? And I think that's what will take us to the finish line much faster. But again, labor is divided, right? The labor movement is completely divided, as you know. And the more divided we are, right, as labor groups, right? Because I mean, there are other labor groups in New York City that represent or claim to represent drivers, right? And you know, and elected officials also, right, that pick sides, right? Those are also like the realities that we deal with. And the more we are divided, right, the longer the process takes. And you know what, the longer it takes, you know who wins? The app companies, because the status quo will continue and app companies gonna win. And we all understand when app companies victories mean drivers suffering, right? And drivers suffered enough. Uber came into this industry in 2011 in New York City. And IDG was created in 2016, and I'm trying to give you like a timeline here. 2011, IDG created in 2016, so that's 5 years. For 5 years, drivers were being exploited without any type of representation. And during those 5 years, you know who was here? The NYTWA, that claim to represent Uber drivers now. They've been created since 1998. Uber came in 2011 and started the exploitation day one. No organization jumped to help those drivers. And for the record, drivers in New York City staged the very first protest against Uber in 2014.
Only 2014?
Only the very first protest.
First one,
by themselves, right? By themselves. Only drivers by themselves, right? Because drivers were angry, and that protest was triggered because Uber wanted to make the SUV drivers pick up X trips. During those days, that was unheard of, right? You couldn't, right, do it at all. And those SUV drivers got together and staged one of the largest and the very first protests against Uber everywhere in the US. And they protest for 4 or 5 days, staged without any organization backing them up. So that showed drivers' anger, that showed drivers' dedication, that showed drivers' desire to keep these app companies accountable. And again, you know who did not come to help those drivers? NYTWA that was here. And that wasn't until 2016 that the machinists, right, that which is a union that's notorious for organizing drivers, and the machinists, actually, we can touch on that later on the pivot, which helped create the Black Car Fund in 1999. Those guys saw from those protests that these drivers need help, and they are being abandoned by the other driver groups that actually exist out here. And that's when they step up and start organizing drivers and that led to the creation of the Independent Drivers Guild, and negotiated the very first deactivation appeal, right, process in a nation, and also negotiated something called Works Council. Works Council is drivers sitting at the table with app companies to talk about their working conditions.
But they said they blame you. IDG is making money from Uber and Lyft company, and then they said we're fighting for the 401k. We're fighting for the union for the driver. I know the NYTWA guy, the Sultan. I'm gonna bring him here too. But he said you guys making money from the app company, and then that's why you guys negotiation, and then not helping to driver. That's why they blame you.
100%. We heard those blames, and that's laughable in so many ways. Because the timeline I gave you previously, right? 2011 Uber came in. 2014 driver protests. 2016 IDG came to save drivers. Okay, they were around. They never jumped to help drivers. No driver never heard of NYTWA until 2017. No one knew about them, even though they existed for their 25th years, 25 years in the industry. So that goes to tell you a lot. Now their talking point is IDG taking money from from
that's
Uber.
what they said. Yeah,
that's all they said. But think about it.
And then,
right?
as you said, like elected officer Jessica Ramos, I call her here. She says also you have some sort of negotiation with app company.
Yes.
And then helping them to driver to in a right way. That's what they said.
100%.
You have to clear this thing about for our driver brothers and sisters.
Wonderful. I'm gonna clear it up, and I touched on it briefly earlier, which is there is no help, right? There was no help when Uber came in. Correct?
Okay.
2011 to 2016,
Okay.
everybody sat on the sideline and watched drivers get slaughtered every single day. We step in and we said, hey, one of the priorities is to make sure these drivers' jobs are secured first.
Of course,
right?
yes.
And what are the best ways to do it than talk with the people that are employing, that those drivers are working for or with? Correct? Which was Uber at the time. Hey Uber, now we need to seriously talk. We brought Uber to the table and made them understand that deactivation is a deactivation appeal process is crucial, and these drivers deserve a right to appeal those deactivations,
Of
which
course.
what they are fighting now, right? 12 years late, right?
So
and hold on, I'm
Okay.
now. In order for that process to work, who gonna pay for it? The drivers? No, the drivers are barely making a living. We are making the app companies pay for that process to make sure these people that are deactivated get a process that's functioning correctly. And that's what they're referring to. Oh my God, Uber's paying. So to them, they would rather make the driver pay for that process. That's not fair, and that's not smart if you are working on behalf of drivers. That's one. And they're talking about there is no 401k. Fine. They've been around since 1998.
Yeah.
Did yellow cab drivers got 401k?
Not yet.
And now we want to follow those guys that
okay.
been here for 25 years,
Okay.
that led an industry to the ground,
Okay.
right? Yellow cab, is iconic in New York. I love yellow cabs, right? And I remember growing up back in Africa, right? Watching American movies. I'm looking forward to seeing a yellow cab pass by. That's how I will identify, oh my God, this is America. And that made my dream even bigger to come here just to see a yellow cab.
So what did you find about Bhairavi Desai or NYTWA, right? What is the good they did good until now, and then what is the bad? What do you want to suggest for them? For the driver rights.
I don't know what they did good or bad, because I do not follow them like that. I just follow the industry in general, and I know when they were created, and I understand from their creation to now. I see where the industry is, and if someone represents any driver or any industry for 25 years, and that industry keep going down and down and degrading. Like, they single-handedly represented the yellow cab drivers per se, right? That's what they claim. Okay? And those drivers unfortunately resorted to suicide. That show a lack of representation. And they represented also the medallion owners. And we know up to a point medallion price was maybe kind of jumped to probably over $1 million, I heard. Today, do you know the price of a medallion?
Yeah, nothing.
Exactly. And
was,
those are the guys that represented those folks. And now they are threatened by the rise of the IDG, because we came in and we got to work, right? We stayed away from bickering and screaming and yelling at each other. We are looking drivers right in our eyes and say, hey, if you have a problem, come to us, regardless of who do you drive for or what color vehicle you drive. We are open to assist you, be it on deactivation, we will assist you, legal assistance, right? And we know also driving is like super stressful. You need wellness, right? To talk to a counselor, to kind of talk about certain issues, right? And it's available to you. We have professional development classes to make sure these drivers are protected, right? Because if you do a job, you're supposed to at least get some kind of training. Uber and Lyft don't train you, right? You just get a license today, tomorrow you are on the road driving customers, and that can be tricky sometimes. So look, at IDG, we are thinking ahead. We are thinking about the person. How do we protect this person in reality, as opposed to just screaming and yelling and pointing fingers? Oh my God, this person is
So let me jump on topics about our black car fund. A lot of our driver brother and sister, they don't understand about black car fund. What kind of coverage basically doing by black car fund?
Black car fund is a workers' comp, again created in 1999, and that helped drivers when they're injured while on the job. And that's funded by the riders, which is every ride you complete, a 3% surcharge is bill is added to what the rider pays. So it funds like the BCF, and they do have they offer. When you were injured on the job, right, you were protected. And I think as of earlier this year, they added another benefit called accident disability insurance, which actually protects you when you were injured off the job, like when you are not working. And I want to kind of bring some clarity here. On the job means, to put it simply, the moment you accept a trip, till you end a trip, right? That's on the job, right? And when you were injured, you, the driver, the individual, not your vehicle, when you're injured, of course, Black Car Fund got some type of protection. And now, again, beginning of this year, I believe, there is, that's when the accident disability insurance started, where actually you will be paid up to 70% of your earnings when you were injured off the job, which is also a great benefit. And they do have vision benefits,
dental also, right?
Dental also. And
so you guys support that, whoever get injured while they're on working. So if they come to your office, you're gonna help to fight for that, right?
Yes. When you were injured, you come to our office. We're definitely gonna help you file a claim with the BCF, and again, those are benefits that FHV drivers, right, for hire vehicle drivers have in New York City, right? In New York State, actually, I would say, right? Not only New York City, State, in New York State, right? Either TLC or non-TLC drivers. If you live in New York, you drive in New York, you are afforded those benefits, right? And this is what yellow cabs don't have. It doesn't exist.
They don't have it, right?
At all, right? And again, that shows a big difference between the driver organizations, and we are here to provide, to help a driver now, today, not tomorrow, not in 10 years. We are making sure every day you wake up there is some protection that you have once you get on the road.
Oh, okay, very nice, Aziz. And yeah, IDG, as you said, it's a young organization since 2016. So, what else you have to say? Like as I said, some elected official they are talking about, you're making money from the app company, or they're saying like that. How do you prove that you're not?
I'm not. All I'm gonna say to those elected officials is to talk to drivers. And I explained earlier that we definitely negotiated. We were the very first app company to negotiate a process and make app companies pay for that process. Now, if anyone says no, don't let app companies pay for this, make drivers pay for it, then I want to see what their argument is. Now I'm asking you directly, would you rather app companies pay for that process or make drivers pay for it?
Definitely app company.
Thank you. I mean, I think that's a no-brainer, right? And I think and those elected officials, they understand full well, right? This is actually unions in general, right? That's what unions do. Right. The reality is, when you were a member of a union, you paid dues, right? And then the company you work for subsidized some of the benefits, right? And this is not anything new, but somehow they feel like, well, no, right? It shouldn't happen, even though they are working themselves. Whichever process they create, that's gonna lead to the same exact thing. So why, try to tell a driver that's deactivated today, that has the protection today, you are telling that driver, don't take that protection, suffer, and wait for me until I draft a bill and I go through that complicated and lengthy process, right, to get that bill enacted. Then you can come back to me in 5 years and claim victory. If I'm hungry, I'm not waiting 5 years.
No,
I am not. And if they have a driver that's willing to wait 5, 10 years, they can show me that driver. The reality is we step up and did what we have to do to protect the drivers today. And, I know Senator Ramos, is actively working with the NYTWA and super hostile to IDG. Just because, that's a choice, right? And say, well, we're going to advance this bill that would in real protect drivers for real, because the reality is drivers need to be employees in order to get all these benefits, right? They didn't talk to a driver. They did not talk to drivers, and I'm speaking not only as an organizer today. I'm speaking as a driver, right? Because I'm definitely a stakeholder in this conversation. Now, when you wanna, she's an elected official. I have a lot of respect for her. Amazing, but sometimes even heroes want to need saving sometimes. And this is a complicated topic, and I think she needs to get all the drivers in a room and actually talk to drivers, not lock herself up in a room with the people that agrees with her, right, and draft something based on whatever agreement, whatever she feels like looks good. That's not how it works.
So how is your what is your further program for a driver? You guys doing defensive driver thing, and then what are the further classes for your driver you guys conducting them?
Yeah, we do have defensive driving, and very successful, by the way, because as any driver that takes a defensive driving course, can say 3 points off of the TLC and 4 points off of the DMV, and
yeah.
actually that can save them about 10% depending on who the insurance company is and
Every 18 months, or what is the procedure for that? The defensive driving time frame?
yeah, so that's every 18 months you can actually come back and take it for points and insurance reduction.
Okay.
But under TLC and DMV rules, of course, you have to take it once every 3 years. So
okay.
And that's why you see usually during TLC renewals, right? DDC is actually required, or at least is part of the requirements for you to renew that TLC license. And we do have 5-star classes as well, which is a professional development class where we can kind of teach you the ins and outs of this industry and do's and don'ts. And that class also help you get reactivated if you are deactivated for low rating.
Oh, okay.
Right.
Yeah, nowadays, yeah, I mean, Sonam Gising, he's from Nepali community, right? So he's very actively posting a lot of things about like IDG. Hey, come here,
Yes.
like we have this training, we have that training. He's working very actively for our community actually. So yeah, that's what I'm thinking. IDG is, I mean, doing something for like something better for the drivers, and then he's always calling for a lot of different training classes, information about it,
Yeah.
So seems like you guys doing pretty good.
Look,
in city.
I mean, we always say it, right? And that is one of my good friends that always like to use this quote, like, the more you know, the better you can decide. And actually, I kind of love it, right? I mean, our idea here, our approach here is to just help drivers, right? Without, like, regardless of affiliation again and who you're a member or not, you walk into IDG, you belong, you are part of it, right? What do you need help with? That's the question we will ask you first, right? And if we don't have an answer or if we don't have that resource available to us, trust me, we're gonna go looking for it. Right, you're never gonna feel abandoned as a driver when you work into IDG, and we just want to make sure all the drivers understand that the driver center that's located right here on 36th and Skillman is actually your house. This is where you don't need an appointment to come in. Walk right in any day. Ask, just ask. Right, this is what I need help with. Do not hesitate, and you will see. I mean, people that gonna come around you and actually offer that help you need right away.
Okay. Again, as a being your organization, right? What are the future plan? I mean, making on your list, like for your driver, like another 10 years, another 15 years. These are the benefit driver gonna get it, or any plan for you guys, or you just working like as it is?
No, we want drivers to be able. We want to hand the microphone to drivers, right? We want to make sure that platform is completely handed to drivers, where drivers get to decide their own future, because those are the workers, right? I'm not gonna sit down, right? I mean, it will be weird, right, for, let's say, an elected official to sit down and say, well, I'm not a worker, I'm an elected official. Therefore, I'm going to shape your life as a worker without actually talking to you, the worker, right? So we would like, we want to make sure drivers continue being on the driver's seat, right, to drive this conversation. We would like for drivers to be heard. Anything they ask for to make their working condition better, that's our goal, to make sure we are the vehicle that kind of take that voice, right, that amplify that voice to make sure drivers get all the protection they need. Right now, there are, drivers are talking about, right, they need a 401k, they need retirement, they need sick pay, they need X, Y, and Z. But yes, they deserve it. And I am, as a worker, I'm completely supportive of that, because look, I've been always personally, right? That's my personal story, how I get to this, to driving, right? I've been working 9 to 5 my whole life. I never drove, right? Of course, I drove back and forth to work. But yeah, I was driving for a living now. It wasn't until 2012 when some things happened in my life where I could no longer continue working a 9 to 5, right? I could no longer clock in and out. And I was good. I had the protection of a union, and I want to give a shout out to my local union, IBEW Local 3, amazing union, protected me the whole time. But when I had situations in my life where I needed, that would prevent me, those situations would prevent me from going to work, like being on time at work, right? So I was like either taking a lot of times off, or I wasn't able to come on time, or sometimes I have to leave work early to tend to, my situation. I knew I was going to get fired, even though I have the protection of a union.
Yeah.
So I end up quitting to start driving. That's when I was introduced to driving, and I was glad that the taxi industry was here for me, right, as a safety net, right, so I can drive when I want, and without having a boss breathing on my neck. And anytime I want to stop to go take care of my own personal things, I will go take care of those. And that's how I came to love driving, right? And I was like, I'm glad this industry exists. And for now, though, seeing certain politicians, right, talking about, well, we need to turn this job now to a 9 to 5. I'm like, dude, you didn't talk to me, right? I didn't want that. So that's the safety net that I appreciate, and I'm glad it's here. But the workers here need protection. Now, what I lost when I left was, right, my benefits. I no longer have those, right? I traded those benefits with this so-called flexibility that exists today, right? And it shouldn't be the case. So I do believe we need portable benefits. We need benefits that will help these drivers right now and in the future. And drivers understand that, but I don't want to speak for all the drivers. I want drivers themselves to shape that, right? And every benefit that a worker has can be afforded to those drivers right now. But some politician will tell you, and again, we are governed by labor laws, right? And right now we are considered independent contractors, right? And as an independent contractor, of course, some of those benefits are not extended to us, right? But politicians now will figure the best way to give us that protection is to turn us to employees in order, for the purpose of benefits. Why? Don't turn me to an employee, right? Change those labor laws.
Okay.
I'm so thankful for those labor laws. They've been out here forever protecting workers, right? Making sure, workers get all the benefits they deserve. But, guess what? The world evolved, right? Right now, if you think about gig work in general, that's the fastest growing labor force you can ever imagine, not only in America, but anywhere in the world, right? Okay. So why don't labor itself shift to protect workers where they are? I think that's what the conversation should be, as opposed to saying we're going to change this entire industry, we're going to change these choices you make just so we can give you unemployment insurance. So that's a larger conversation, and I know we have a little bit of time to talk about that.
I was watching. Aziz, we're almost last minute. What you have to say to community leader and driver from your side?
I just want to tell drivers that help is here, and more help is on the way. So continue connecting with the Independent Drivers Guild. We are here to protect your best interests. If you have any questions or concern, our worker center is open to you 24/7.
So is there any? We're almost finished. Is there anything I did not ask you? You want to say to convey to your community or drivers, leader? Anything left behind or not?
I think we covered a lot of ground, and when we talk about this industry, the conversation is completely endless because that's like a lot of things to talk about, right?
I would like to call you again, like next season. I would say season 2, because I'm almost finished, like all the community leader, drivers, like a lot of different actors in New York City, actually. So from all over the America as well. So I might call you another season 2. You know what I mean?
Absolutely, and I want to thank you, and thank your audience, thank you for the amazing work you're doing, kind of shedding some light, right, in this industry, right, to kind of call all the actors, right, and everyone to actually clarify a lot of things, because in the Nepali community there are so many drivers, a lot of drivers, and the same with all the other community, like my African community as well. I got a lot of drivers, and I encourage, like, these culturally, like, kind of driven media folks to
Yeah.
actually, kind of talk to their audience, right,
Yes,
to
yes.
enlighten them, to explain exactly what's going on, and the work you're doing is really, really awesome, and we couldn't thank you more. This is great.
All right, Aziz, thank you so much for your effort and raising voice for the drivers. We keep looking forward from your company, and this is our Hello America. Hello America, support you as an always, and thank you for again raising voice and your time, Aziz. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Appreciate you guys. Thanks.
Thank you.
Bye bye.